Now the third part of connotative meanings is the affective meanings, which is the emotive effect work on the addressee by the choice of expression, and that forms part of its overall meaning. The expression does not merely denote its referent but also hint at some attitudes of the speakers or the writer to the addressee. So features of linguistic politeness, flattery, rudeness, or insult are typical examples of the expression carrying affective meaning. For example, let's do a small comparison of silence please or shut up, or رجاء الصمت or اسكت in Arabic. So this expression share the same core detonative meanings of be quiet, but the speaker's implied attitude to the listener produces a different affective impact on each case. So if we ask silence please, so he's more polite, but or رجاء الصمت, but when he say shut up or اسكت, it's a rude. Okay? So not only imperative forms but also statements and question can have an alternative forms of identical basic denotative meaning yet totally different in affective meaning. An example is I want the bog, which carries affective overtones of disrespect or at least extremely familiarity, versus the sentence I need to go to the lavatory, okay, whose formality or politeness suggest respects for the addressee. So clearly translator must be able to recognize the affective meaning in the source text, but they must also be careful not to introduce any unwanted affective meaning to the target text. So this is an example, or to take an example from colloquial Arabic or Sudanese Arabic, a customer in general store say اديني كيلو رز, or give me a kilo of rice. In accordance with the standard conventions in Arabic for requests that come easily compiled, no politeness for formula is included here. It would be, of course, be possible to translate this sentence into English, give me a kilo of rice. However, this sentence might sound rude, as the normal convention in English in the shop is to use the term such as please and thank you. A safer option might be to caution the target text by translating the source text as something like a kilo of rice please, or may I have a kilo of rice please. Okay? The most important, though not perhaps the most obvious area in which the affective meaning operates in formality versus informality, formality and informality are features of words and phrases, or more precisely, they are features of words and phrases used in particular sense. So, thus the chair in the sense of the object for sitting on is a standard word with no particular formality. But the chair in the sense of professorship, by contrast, has somewhat formal and even technical association, perhaps rather more than its synonyms professorship. So formality and informality can be thought of as being on a line or continuum, okay, from very informal to formal. So formality is thus not an all or nothing matter. We may reasonably describe the word or phrase as being relatively informal or slightly formal. Okay? Although it is a word or phrase in a particular sense that are formal or informal, the formality and informality imply affective meaning. This is because they connotate a relationship between the speaker's writer on one hand and the listener and reader on the other hand. Okay, on the other. In informal writing and speech, this connotated relation is one of emotional closeness and normally also rough equality of status, at least in the context in which the utterance is made. In informal writing or speech, the relation is one of emotional distance and normally also of non-equality of status. Therefore, it is fairly easy to confuse attitudinal meaning with the affective meaning. The difference is that attitudinal meaning involves attitude to the referent, or in other words, the person or thing referred to, whereas the affective meaning involves attitude to the addressee or the person spoken to. Where the referent is also the addressee, affective meaning and attitudinal meaning will coincide. Both attitudinal meaning and affective meaning are emotional in nature. They convey how the speaker, writer feels about the referent or the addressee. Associative meanings, by contrast, has to do with the tendency to refer. An example, the tendency of ithm to refer to a sin that is personal or does not involve a punishment in this world, or the tendency of them to refer to sin that does not involve punishment in this world or the next. So the associative meaning is thus focused on the referent. Okay? The fourth type of connotative meaning is the elusive meaning, which is an intertextual feature. It occurs when an expression evokes an associated saying or quotation in such way that the meaning of the saying or the quotation becomes a part of the overall meaning of the expression. Although illusion is most typically a feature of literary text, it's also fairly frequently found outside literature. Okay, so a book on the fall of the Soviet communism written in 1993, for example, is titled The Future That Failed. This title, or the book title, involves an allusion to the name of the series in which the book was published, Social Future. It also contains at least two further allusions. However, the first is to the line, "I have seen the futures and its work," found in the title page of the book titled Red Virtue by the American writer and the communist Ella Winter. Okay? The final allusion is to the book written by the group of this illusion ex-communists in 1949, titled The God That Failed, the God in the title being communism itself, which the author had come to recognize as a religion substitute rather than a political philosophy in more normal sense. So let's take another example from the Palestinian novelist Isa Bishara. In his novel مدينة البغي, The City of Oppression, the city in question is clearly Jerusalem, or a functional equivalent. The term مدينة البغي, which is used as a name of the city, alludes to the fact that Jerusalem is sometimes referred to as مدينة السلام, City of Peace. It also perhaps recalls at the St. Augustine's, or City of God. Isa Bishara is a Christian and makes a widespread use of the Christian symbolism in his work. For Arabic reader, a further possible elusive meaning is مدينة النبي. That is the term from which derived from the name of the city Medina. Okay, in pre-Islamic times known as Yathrib. For English-speaking readers, particularly those of the Protestant background, the target text city of oppression might also carry echoes of John Bunyan's The City of Destruction, or in the book Belligerent's Progress. Although it is extremely doubtful that this word would have been intended in the source text. Now, another example, the final example of elusive meaning, is the form which we discussed in the previous lecture or the previous unit, the oath that the member of the Muslim Brotherhood swears to Hassan al-Banna, and that treats الالتزام التام بالأخلاق والثقة والسمع والطاعة في العسر واليسر والمنشط والمكره is the same. So this perhaps contain an allusion to the Quran, for example, the سورة الشرح. سورة الشرح فإن مع العسر يسرا and verse فإن مع العسر يسرا.